Hi everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. Daily Racing Form handicappers Matt Bernier, Mike Beer, and I are going to take a look at three important graded stakes races. The Whitney from Saratoga, a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. The Test Stakes, a Grade 1 at the Spa for 3-year-old fillies, and the Grade 3 West Virginia Derby for 3-year-olds. Birthday boy Peter Thomas Forentel's got the latest news and notes in the tournament world. JK's play of the day? Well, Jonathan Kinchin's got a Saturday pick 4 at Saratoga. And not to be outdone, David Aragona of TimeformUS, he spotlights the late pick 4 at Saratoga. Plus Nicole Russo's Pedigree pick, best bets, horses to watch, and lots more. So let's break Out of the Gate. We begin Out of the Gate with our Horse Watch segment. Matt Bernier, who'd you smoke out at Del Mar to put on your DRF.com Horse Watch list?
It's not much of a surprise that Bob Baffert has plenty good 2-year-olds this time of year, especially out at Del Mar. Last week I was going to talk about Mother, but we started talking about Justify, so we had to bump Mother to this week. This was her career debut out at Del Mar most recently, and I tell you what, guys, she just looks like a superstar, potentially anyway. She goes out, she wins this race by over 6.5 lengths. She gets an 87 buyer, and I think most importantly, okay, the pedigree is a little bit pedestrian. She's by Pioneer of the Nile. There's not a lot on the bottom, but they paid $450,000 for her. And most importantly, that runner-up, Tapwater, she's supposed to be a decent horse for Mandela, and Mother absolutely buried her. I would imagine you're going to be looking at a stakes race at the end of Del Mar.
I'm guessing Grade 1 Del Mar debutante if all things go well for Mother. That was a super debut. Mike Beer, Naira analyst, you found Bill Mott at Saratoga.
Yeah, my 2-year-old filly was also debuting. She can't go with Mother. There's no chance that this horse can go with Mother. But Teletype, I thought was just maybe a sneaky horse to kind of highlight here and to see what happens going forward. She debuted in a pretty tough race at Saratoga, and I thought she did some good things here. She was a very big price, didn't take a lot of money, but we can show the stretch run here. She had speed in this race at a big price. The horse that made the front was a very hot horse that they paid a lot of money for Steve Asmussen, who's winning every 2-year-old race up there. This horse, Teletype, chased this horse all the way around the track, and she lasted for second right down until the end. She's going to pay the price for chasing a fast horse here and get run down at the end. But I thought this was an underrated debut for a horse who could come back into maybe an easier spot somewhere down the line and break her maiden. She also has a nice turf pedigree, so maybe that will be her surface down the line. But she ran pretty well first time out.
I'm going to take a look at a 3-year-old filly named Monte Crista. This is a half-sister to the Grade 3 stakes winner Just Howard, a pretty good turf horse in the Mid-Atlantic region. Monte Crista is by Cape Blanco, a turf star in his own right, and she went 3 for 3 in her first 3 starts on turf. They tried her on Stakes Company for the first time in the Tawi Stakes, and as you're going to see, it didn't really work out for her. She didn't break very well, and she's going to be last going into the first turn, and the first quarter here was run in 24. The half's going to be run in 49, and she's going to be last on the rail for the first 3 furlongs or so, while no pace is going on in the early portion of the race. Julian Pimentel in the backstretch is going to take her 4 wide, then she takes her 5 wide all the way through the turn and into this point in the stretch where Monte Crista is going to come with a good solid run despite the fact that there was no pace and she was extremely wide on the turn. She can't get to Cyrenusa, who's a pretty good filly in her own right and who got the jump on Monte Crista. Monte Crista tires a bit here to finish 3rd. She's still a little bit slow on the buyer scale. She's paired up 80s in her last 2 races, but I think she fits against fellow 3-year-olds in the listed stakes ranks and certainly later this fall against Maryland breds in the Mid-Atlantic area. That's Monte Crista, trained by Michael Trombetta. Let's get to some handicapping. Saturday's DRF Bets race of the day is the Grade 1 $1.2 million Whitney. Let's throw up the field for Saturday's DRF Bets race of the day. The Grade 1 $1.2 million Whitney Stakes carded as race number 9 at Saratoga. You can access free formulator past performances for the Whitney on the race of the day event page at drf.com. And for expanded stakes previews for all the graded stakes races and a lot more this weekend, head on over to video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike Beer, the morning line favorite, the number 6, diversifies, sort of a last-minute addition to this field by Rick Violette. Boy, he dominated the Suburban last time out.
Yeah, he sure did. I guess it was a smart move for them to enter late into this Whitney. He is the morning line favorite. And he's just, if he can come back and run as well as he did in the Suburban last time, he's just going to be a handful in here. We can show the replay of that race where I read Ortiz just sent this horse to the lead early. He went a fast pace, 46 to the half, 109 and change for six furlongs. And you can see him here. He's on it clearly in the stretch, guys. He's got this entire field tired out behind him. They are on fumes from chasing this horse on a fast pace, and they don't get anywhere near him. This was a dominating performance, and he comes right back in the Whitney, guys, over a distance that is no problem for him, and he's just going to be freewheeling on the lead again. I think it's going to be really, really tough to run down.
And it's not like the Suburban's a fluke. Remember last year he went gate to wire in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. He is a classy and talented New York bred. Classic winner Taprit back for more, third start of the form cycle, Matt. You know distance isn't going to be a problem. He's got to hope that Dalmore maybe pushes the morning line favorite just a little bit early.
Yeah, and he needs to step his game up. Let's just call a spade a spade. He's a little bit slow on paper, but my big thing with this race was the three logical contenders. Felt like I could poke little holes in each one of them, whether it was distance from Mind Your Biscuits, whether it was coming back off that giant effort for Diversify, or whether it was coming off the complete flop from Backyard Heaven. Instead, I chose to go with Tapper. We're going to go to his run 2 starts back. This is his first start off a considerable layoff, and he's pretty close to a relatively quick pace. And all things considered, he gets a little bit tired at the end. I don't want to hold that against him. He came back and ran in that Suburban that we just took a look at. He was about 15 wide off the far turn, so I don't want to totally hold that against him. He's certainly not as fast as Diversify, and he's not as fast as Mind Your Biscuits and those horses right now. But if he gets a little bit of help up front, I do wonder if this is one that kind of laying in the weeds for Pletcher and Velasquez. If you get 6-7 to 1 on him, I'll take a shot.
First time this year that he's going to race without an aluminum pad. He seems to be feeling good, and this is a horse that we know has a good amount of class. The horse with arguably the most natural ability in the race is Mind Your Biscuits, and really the key to the race is whether Mind Your Biscuits can successfully stretch out to 1 1/8 miles, because we know he's good at 6, we know he's good at 7, and we know he's pretty good at 1 mile, as shown in his most recent start, the Metropolitan Handicap, where he set off the pace set by B Jersey, and he's really the only horse making any kind of a late dent in here. He is going to be running hard all the way down to the wire, and he's just going to miss by a dirty nose. The 3rd and 5th place finishers in this race both came back to win. Can Mind Your Biscuits go 1 1/8 miles? We'll find out, but he's one of the more consistent and gritty horses in the race. 8 triple-digit Beyer speed figures on his record, not counting the 2 Grade 1 wins in the Dubai Golden Shaheen. It's also interesting to note that he bombed a little bit in his only start at Saratoga last year. There were rumors that he wasn't training very well, so there are some negatives with Mind Your Biscuits, but I do trust this horse's grit. I think he has a lot of natural ability, and I think he sits a second flight trip. I'll give him a chance at 1 1/8 miles. That's Mind Your Biscuits, my top selection in the Whitney. Nicole Russo's got some great pedigree pick information. Peter Thomas Fornatel's got all the latest news and notes in the tournament world. Let's go to those segments right now.
Hey guys, Nicole Russo coming to you for Daily Racing Forms Out of the Gate. And this week in our pedigree handicapping segment, I want to do something a little different and take a look at handicapping the progeny of the sons of one particular mare who will be in the news this weekend. Heavenly Prize is this year's lone contemporary inductee into racing's Hall of Fame. The well-bred Phipps homebred was to be enshrined at a ceremony Friday morning in Saratoga Springs. Heavenly Prize, a 9-time Grade 1 winner. She was an Eclipse champion her 3-year-old year. She recorded 6 other Grade 1 placings, including 2 runner-up efforts in the Breeders' Cup Distaff and a 3rd in the Don against males. Now, Heavenly Prize died in 2013 at the age of 22, but her impact, like many of these great Phipps mares, still felt today. Just one very recent example, her winning daughter Enhancing is the dam of graded winner Instilled Regard, who was a creditable 4th in this year's Kentucky Derby. So if you know Heavenly Prize and know what to look for in her progeny, it's certainly still relevant to your handicapping, especially because you also regularly see her name thanks to her 3 stakes performing sons who are now stallions. Grade 1 winner Good Reward, Grade 2 winner Pure Prize, and stakes winner Cosmic. Now here's where knowing a bit of Heavenly Prize's own racing record and history works out for you, because following in her long-winded footsteps, her sons were stakes performers going long, and they sire progeny who definitely want to go a route of ground on all surfaces, so that's very much something to keep in mind. Pure Prize, perhaps the best example of this, a graded winner at up to the 1.125 distance of the Kentucky Cup Classic. His standouts just this year alone include High Happy, a multiple winner at 1.5 miles, including this score in the Grade 2 Pan American at Gulfstream earlier this year. He went on to win the Grade 1 Man O' War. Blue Prize, a daughter of Pure Prize, drove to an impressive 1.5-length victory over Farrell in the Grade 2 Fleur-de-Lis at Churchill Downs, going 1.125 miles. So definitely they want to route no matter the surface. Red Knight, a winner going 10 furlongs at the Belmont Turf. Swelly Gent, a winner at 1.5 miles at Suffolk Downs. You definitely see Heavenly Prize's stamina coming through. So when you see Pure Prize's name in a program, you know his runners can handle a distance, and perhaps they're good plays if they offer some value, stretching out for the first time if you can spot those. The same is true with Good Reward and Cosmic. Now, all three of those stallions stand or have stood in South America, and you may see fewer runners by the latter two here in the U.S. as a result, as they weren't quite as popular. But again, Good Reward's multiple winner in North America this year is Go Go Goose, all of whose wins have come routing on the turf, so you see the same pattern for sure. So just a little bit of a closer look at these three stallions, hopefully giving you some food for thought to tuck away in your handicapping files. And next up on Out of the Gate this Hall of Fame and Whitney weekend, let's give you some more food for thought with Peter and Tournament Talk.
Peter Thomas Fornatale back with you on Out of the Gate, coming to you from the famed Secret Spot in Saratoga. We are overlooking the Post Bar, also known as the Paddock Bar for those in the know. And looks like we're going to have a beautiful day of racing here. Wanted to check in about some goings-on in the tournament world. Last weekend, the big news was Del Mar, specifically Dennis Montoro, a young computer player who got the job done out at Del Mar, winning over $135,000 in cash and prizes. Dennis expected to be one of the many players descending on Saratoga next weekend for the Saratoga Betting Challenges live bankroll contest on Friday and Saturday, and you have your final opportunities this weekend to win into those at DRF tournaments. Some of the events are just a Saturday entry. Those cost $230, and 1 in 10 win the 2,000 buy-ins for Saturday. We also have a contest that will award entries for Friday and Saturday, as well as $500 in travel money. Once again, player favorable ratio of 1 in 10 on those. Go on there, check it out. Monmouth contest on Travers Day. That's another one we have this weekend at DRFT. You can win your $500 Monmouth buy-in as well as $500 in travel. That costs $120. Lots of good stuff to check out. If you're interested in the Dennis Montoro story, check it out. There are 2 articles right now on DRF Tournaments. The easiest way to find all my stuff, go to the DRF Tournaments website, tournaments.drf.com, click the news drop down, and you can see everything I'm writing about the tournament world. Hopefully, I'm also going to be getting busy this weekend doing some posting on DRF Live. Great weekend of racing expected up here. This is where I will be for most of it. Hopefully, I'll get that internet connection working, computer back and working this weekend, and can share some thoughts on maidens, betting patterns, other interesting things we see here from the Paddock Bar. A lot of interesting, sharp people. We get some cool information. We'll be looking to share that via live.drf.com. All right, that's it for this week. Stay tuned for more on Out of the Gate.
Are you a horse player looking to raise your game? For over 120 years, expert handicappers have relied on Daily Racing Form as their must-have source for news and data, featuring exclusive buyer speed figures, TimeformUS pace figures, and integrated replays. DRF Formulator is the most powerful handicapping tool on the market today. Use what the pros use. Go to drf.com/formulator and enter code DRFTV to get your first card free. drf.com. raise your game.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. The signature race for 3-year-old filly dirt sprinters in North America is the Grade 1 Test Stakes. Let's take a look at the 2018 edition. We're going 7 furlongs, $500,000 is the purse, and you can get expanded stakes previews of all the graded stakes races and lots more at video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Matt, we love turnbacks going 7 furlongs. You've got a horse that could really take advantage if this pace is hot and heavy.
I think that's really the only chance that Kelly's Humor on the outside has, is if they do throw it down early. But you brought up the turnback angle. Brad Cox is the master at the turnback. He's right on par with Chad Brown on running horses back on shorter distances. It's been a while since Kelly's Humor's won a race, but I think we're trending the right direction because she's getting back to doing what she wants. We're going to go back to the Beaumont. This was at the beginning of her 3-year-old campaign. She's on the far outside, wheeling out, coming with a big run, and she's not going to quite get there. She's going to run a decent second behind Gas Station Sushi, but more importantly, I don't think she's ever gotten the opportunity, with the exception of those 2 races that she won as a 2-year-old, to really show what she can do. I think she's a one-turn horse, preferably 7/8 of a mile. You get that here. There should be an honest enough pace. I think she's going to be able to get something to run at from the back. And she's got all these route races riddled in there. I don't think that's what she is. I think she's a closing sprinter, and she should be a good number.
Mike, you like a horse coming in from Churchill Downs for trainer Al Stahl, who's really underrated, especially at Saratoga. Minute to stardom is perfect, 3 for 3. She hasn't been tested yet. She gets tested on Saturday, but she got a big fig last time out.
Yeah, the figure that she ran last time in her 3-year-old debut says she fits. We don't have any video to show you on this horse, but that's okay. I don't think there's anything that's really not on the page that you would find from watching one of her races. She has very easy speed, she keeps up with the pace, and then she just buries horses through the stretch. And they haven't really asked her to run up to her best yet. We'll see how much faster she can get. This is a faster pace, a tougher spot. She's going to have to up her game a little bit, but I think this is the right spot for them to try it in, especially because I like all of her races and most of this field coming out of that victory ride at Belmont last month, and I don't really love that race. I didn't want those horses. I wanted an alternative, and I'll try Minute to Stardom and hoping she can up her game a little bit here.
Trainer Chad Brown has entered 2 in the test. The more fancied runner is going to be the number 6, Separation of Powers, a Grade 1 stakes winner at 2, making her second start of the form cycle. I'm a little bit more interested at a better price in the number 3. That's Alter Moon, who was just purchased for $675,000 at public auction last month and is going to be making her first start for Chad Brown. Let's take a look at her most recent race down at Gulfstream Park, going this 7 furlong distance. Now, she's in against much weaker competition, but she blows this field away to the tune of an 88 Beyer speed figure, and she earned a 90 Beyer speed figure in her prior start. It really seems like she's improved when the prior connections removed the blinkers. Alter Moon, I don't think, needs the lead. I think she can sit in a stalking spot for Chad. We'll find out if she's good enough. Her figs fit well, and I think the price will be okay. I think she drifts a little bit off that 4-1 morning line price. We're going to move from Saratoga down to Mountaineer Park. It's West Virginia Derby Day. The West Virginia Derby analysis is up next. Let's take a look at the field for the Grade 3 $500,000 West Virginia Derby for 3-year-olds hoping to kick off their second season in the right way. Race number 8 at Mountaineer on Saturday. You can get expanded stakes previews of all the graded stakes races, including the West Virginia Derby, plus lots more at video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Matt, the number 5, Once On Whiskey, is a Keeneland graduate. The 5-2 morning line favorite is trained by who else? Bob Baffert. This horse really appreciated the 2 turns last time.
That was kind of the question that he needed to answer in the Los Alamitos Derby. We're going to take a look at the stretch run of that race right now. You also see Draft Pick is in this race as well. And I think they're the 2 horses that you need to take under consideration for this race as the favorites. Once On Whiskey, he was stretching out. He was coming off of a little bit of a layoff for Baffert, and the pedigree would have suggested at face value additional distance wasn't a problem. But again, until they do it, you never truly know. I think Draft Pick ran really well in this spot. He was up there contesting the pacers, pushing it anyway. And unfortunately, he just gets nipped down at the end here by Once On Whiskey. I think they're both logical contenders in here. I guess the question becomes, do you think that there's anyone else interesting at what should be better prices offered than these 2?
Mike, you prefer Draft Pick in here, and I think you'd agree with me that Draft Pick ran every bit as well as Once On Whiskey, if not better, considering the pace scenario.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I was looking at it. And maybe I'm just not giving, Once on Whiskey enough credit. But just going back to that Los Al Derby, I mean, it just seemed like Joe Talamo decided early that he was going to be the one to go up and go after Axeman, the favorite, on the lead in there. And he raced that horse, and he got the better of that horse, and you could see him on a clear lead there in the stretch. He just couldn't hold on at the end. I do feel like the decision Talamo made early to go contest the pace probably cost him at the end. In a lot of ways, I did think Draft Pick ran the better race, and I'm just kind of happy to give him another chance in here, and maybe this time at a bigger price than Once on Whiskey is.
3 horses in the West Virginia Derby come out of that Los Alamitos Derby. 3 others come out of the Iowa Derby, including Matt's top pick, the number 1 Lionite. This horse had a little traffic issue last time.
Yeah, and to be fair, I really think the California horses, they're the ones to beat in here, but I just wanted to look for a more appealing price. We're going to look as they turn for home coming out of the Iowa Derby. You're going to look down on the inside. You're going to see Lionite in those Winchell Thoroughbred silks. And I just kind of feel like he had an opportunity to run, but he was just stacked up in behind a wall of horses that you can see right now. And I just wonder if he was able to get clear a little bit sooner, would he have come a little bit closer to threatening? Maybe he never gets there, and maybe he's not as good as some of these other horses. And to be honest, I'm a little bit concerned about a 1.125 for him. But at the same time, I guess if I'm taking any horse out of this race, I want Lionite because I think he's going to be a price. And maybe we haven't actually seen what he's capable of just yet.
I'm with Mike on this one. I'm going to go with the number 2 Draft Pick. He did all the dirty work in the Los Alamitos Derby. He dueled the odds-on favorite Axeman into defeat. Then he put away King Cause, who made a bid at him on the turn, and he fought all the way down to the wire to get nipped by Once on Whiskey. He also galloped out past Once on Whiskey going into the clubhouse turn. I think he can obtain a forward position tracking the pace in the West Virginia Derby, and I think he can turn the tables on Once on Whiskey. That's my top pick, Draft Pick, in the West Virginia Derby. Jonathan Kinchin's JK Play of the Day is a Saratoga late pick 4, and David Aragona's TimeformUS Spotlight, the same bet as well. It'll be interesting to see if they agree. Let's go to those segments right now.
Hey everybody, welcome to JK's Play of the Day. We're heading up to Saratoga. I'm heading up to Saratoga to celebrate, I don't know if the guys before me in this video or after. The guy with the beard, it's his birthday weekend, Whitney Day, always celebrating, so I'm going to head out there and make fun of him a little bit. We're going to do a pick 4 starting in race 8, the grade 1 test. I've been waiting for Mia Mischief to get to this spot. I think she's the best 3-year-old sprinting filly in the country. I wanted to single her, but because I like the sequence so much, I'm going to use one other horse. If I was playing this ticket, which I will be on DRF Ticketmaker, I would use Mia Mischief as an A horse. I would use Classy Act as a B horse. If you like Classy Act a little bit as well, maybe throw her in as an A horse as well. I think that those 2 fillies are standouts in here. Separation of Powers has the back class, the good race at Saratoga. She doesn't seem that she's the same filly that she was as a 2-year-old. I'm going to fade her a little bit. On to the grade 1 Whitney. Not the most star-studded field that we've seen, but definitely a quality race, an interesting race, and a fun race. I'm going to use 3 horses in here, the 2, the 4, and the 6. The 2, Backyard Heaven. That horse was sitting on a big race last time when he ran at Churchill Downs in the Foster. Unfortunately, didn't run well at all. Shows back up here. It's the power of Chad Brown. I think that horse is going to have a better performance in this spot. There were some built-in excuses in the Foster, the weather, It's probably going to be hot at Saratoga, but I think they probably figured that out with him. The 4, Mind Your Biscuits, the most talented of the horses in here, a gutsy horse, ran really well in the Met Mile. I wonder if the 1.125 is a little bit too far, but on Clone, I think that he could get the job done. And this doesn't happen. This isn't one of the most dominating fields. So I'm going to use Mind Your Biscuits. And then I'm also going to use the 6, Diversify, on the front end. Has really big races at 1.25 miles, but can definitely win going shorter than that. Kind of the grueling 1.125 at Saratoga should fit where he runs well at 1.25 miles. Those are the 3 that I'll use in the grade 1 Whitney. On to the Weah. There's one horse I'm going to single in here, and that's Santa Monica. Santa Monica ran huge on the Woodbine undercard on Queen's Plate Day. Was closing into not a really fast pace in that 1.25 race. Made up a ton of ground. I think that she's a really quality animal, and I think that she's going to be extremely tough going 1.5 miles in this grade 3. And then on to the last race. It's a listed stake, the lure stake. Who I'm going to use here, I'm going to use the 4, Conquest Panthera. I've always liked that horse. It was closing into slow fractions at Woodbine. If you look at TimeformUS, you'll see some blue in the early fractions there. It was closing there. I think that this horse could be dangerous. Ball of Rocks is a horse I've been chasing all year, probably since the poker last year. I've bet on Ball of Rocks in every race. Eventually, that one's going to get it done. Bill Mott's having an outstanding meet. And then Voodoo Song, a horse that I tried to beat the last four races, and said that this horse is more of a Saratoga type, had the big winning streak last summer at Saratoga. I think this horse is actually really good, coming back to the surface in which he runs his best races. I think he could be extremely tough, loose on the front end in this finale on Saturday. So I'm going to use the 4, the 6, and the 8 with a little bit of press on Voodoo Song. Good luck. Happy birthday, PTF. We'll see you guys next week.
Hi, everyone. This is David Aragona with this week's TimeformUS Spotlight. We're going to take a look at the late pick 4 sequence on Saturday at Saratoga. The big race is obviously the Whitney, which goes as race 9, but there are 4 really interesting stakes races to dive through, 2 on the dirt, 2 on the turf. Let's start with race 8. It's the Grade 1 test for 3-year-old fillies going 7 furlongs. This is a really competitive race, and of the 4 races in this sequence, I think this is the one we really have to spread around the most because there are just so many contenders to sift through. I think we can start by looking at the TimeformUS pace projector for this race because there is quite a bit of speed. The 2 fillies that hooked up in the Victory Ride last time, Classy Act and Mia Mischief, they're the 2 that figured to be out in front today. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Mia Mischief because whereas she was drawn inside of Classy Act in the Victory Ride, in this race she's drawn outside, so they might be able to stalk outside of that foe. Classy Act, she just ran incredibly well in the Victory Ride. I mean, the pace of that race was extremely fast. You see in her PPs the color-coded red TimeformUS pace ratings for the first 2 fractions. That first pace figure of 156 is just very high for that distance. And she ran really well to just lose that race by a neck. I mean, the winner came from far back. She was a long shot in that race. Classy Act really outdoed all of the other top contenders. And if she repeats that performance in the test, I think she is one of the most likely winners of this race. It's just, can she withstand all that pressure and hold off the closers again going 7 furlongs? That's the big question. I think she's one of the horses to beat. The other filly to consider it for me out of the Victory Ride is Separation of Powers. She just basically lost all chance at the start that day where she stumbled very badly from the rail post position, and she found herself in a situation she had never really been in before. She was far back. She had to make a run from over 12 lengths back in that race, and she actually did really well to get up to 4th at the end of that race. She had to kind of alter course at the top of the stretch when other runners were kind of fanning out for the run into the wire. And I thought she handled the situation very well. In this race, she's got the tactical speed to kind of slot in behind the speeds, work out a good stalking trip. I think she can get the 7 furlongs. She ran well in the Frisette last year when she won that race, so I really have no question about the distance. And to me, she just seems like the right filly to take in this race. I don't think we're going to get a huge price. She's 7-2 on the morning line. I would like to get that. But she's my pick in this race. At a big price, I also want to throw in the number 9 horse, Kelly's Humor. Just if the race totally collapses at the end, she's got some quality to her. I like her one-turn sprint races. And for Brad Cox, you don't often get Brad Cox at a price in these big races, and I think Kelly's Humor is one to kind of throw in, especially in exotics underneath. Moving on to race 9, the Whitney, the feature on this card. This is a matchup between the 2 New York breds, Diversify and Mind Your Biscuits. I'm strongly in favor of Diversify in this race. He just ran exceptionally well in the Suburban last time. He earned a 133 TimeformUS speed figure, which is really one of the top numbers that a handicap horse has earned this year. You see the red color-coded TimeformUS pace ratings for the early part of that race. He just totally strung that field out, ran them off their feet. None of the closers could make a dent at the end of that race. And to me, if he runs that race back, I think he's going to win here. I like that the connections have gotten aggressive and changed plans. They were originally going to run in the Woodward. He worked well last week. Now they've changed course and are running in the Whitney. I think that's a good sign. Indicates he's going to run well today or on Saturday. And I just think he is way the horse to beat in this spot. And I really strongly prefer him to Mind Your Biscuits, who's trying to do something new for the first time. He's also going to be a relatively short price in this race. And while I respect Mind Your Biscuits' talent, I thought he ran very well in the Metropolitan Mile last time against B Jersey, who really had everything his own way up front. And Mind Your Biscuits was the only horse to really make a dent at the end of that race, closing from off the pace. That said, while I think he's a nice horse, I just have little confidence in him stretching out around 2 turns. It really takes a horse with stamina to handle this 9 furlongs around 2 turns at Saratoga, and I just don't see him as a horse that really is well suited to it as a son of Posse. He's run well going 7 furlongs to a mile, but all around 1 turn before, and I just don't really see him handling this distance. The other horses I would kind of include as backups to the Diversify or Taprit, who kind of got floated out in the stretch of the Suburban last time, and Good Samaritan, who will appreciate the stretch out in distance. Moving on to race 10, I think this Weah, going a mile and a half on the Saratoga turf, I think it's a 2-horse race between the likely favorite Santa Monica and the 2-horse Moms on Strike. Santa Monica, if you watch her win the Dance Smartly at Woodbine last time, it was very visually impressive. I mean, once Jose Ortiz steered her out into the clear, she really came with a big late kick, and it looked like her stablemate Inflexibility, who was kind of on the lead at the end of that race, was going to battle back, and Santa Monica just easily inhaled her and won, apparently, with something in reserve. I like her races in this country. She handled a 1.5 miles at Keeneland 3-back. She handled a 1.5 miles in Ireland when she was campaigned overseas last year. And it just seems like stretching out in distance is going to make her even more formidable in this spot. So I think Santa Monica is the horse to beat. But to me, Mom's on Strike is a worthy foe for her because I liked her race at a 1.5 miles 2-back in the Bewitch when she easily handled Daddy's Little Darling, who's a nice filly. Last time out in New York, she was facing some of the top fillies in the country going that distance on the turf, and I just thought she kind of got lost in that race. Adam Beschizza had her way out in the center of the course for the entire race, losing ground to other horses, and horses like 4-Star Crook and Sister Charlie just got the jump on her, but she really got going at the end of that race. Mom's on Strike did. That was a 1.25 miles. Now she's stretching back out to a 1.5 miles in a race that doesn't feature much pace. So I think she can be a bit closer. And to me, she's one to use in conjunction with Santa Monica in the pick 4 sequence. And I'll also kind of press her on the win end because I think she should be a decent price in this race in around 3-1, 7-2. So I'm taking Mom's on Strike and Santa Monica in the way up. The final race, the Lure, it'll be interesting to see what the turf condition is because there is plenty of rain in the forecast that could affect a horse like Voodoo Song, who probably is going to be the favorite in this race. He's the main speed, and he obviously loves Saratoga, having won 4 races up here last year. It's just he's a horse that really appreciates a firm, rock-hard course, and I doubt he's going to get it on Saturday with all of the rain that's supposed to come. So we'll see if he runs. We'll see if he gets the course that he needs, but he is strictly the horse to beat in this race. There are plenty of others to use, like Bella Rocks, who's got backclass and has handled courses but some give in the ground, and Spectre Lindley, who ran well at Churchill last time. A horse at a price that I would throw in, though, is the number 10 Black Type. There isn't a ton of speed in this race, and Black Type should be forwardly placed under Joel Rosario. Importantly, he's a horse that has handled given the ground in the past. He loves this distance of a 1 mile and a 16th, and I think his last race just might have given him some confidence when he won against Optional Claiming Company. So he's coming into this race in good form. Christophe Clon's runners have been firing, and he's going to be a price. So I'll try to use him prominently late in the pick 4 sequence. But fantastic races on Saturday at Saratoga, the Whitney card. Really looking forward to it. Now let's send it back to the studio.
Time for our best bet segment here on Out of the Gate. Matt, you're going out west, young man. Del Mar.
Going to Del Mar for the yellow ribbon. These are fillies and mares on the turf. You know, I kind of get the shakes every time I see Madam Stripe's name in the entries, just because when she's good, she's quite good, and when she's bad, she's terrible. So you never really know what you're going to get out of her. But I kind of feel like, based on her most recent start in the Gamely, we're going to take a look at that right now. She ran way too well to lose this race. And I realize the Gamely was not a spectacular addition this year, but she's out there. TimeformUS has all those pace ratings color-coded red. She's winging it on the front end, and she's going to be in the 3-horse photo with a couple of horses that sat just off of it, Sophie P and Beau Recall down on the inside. I also think it's important to note that the Gamely's at 1 mile and an 1/8. In this race, the yellow ribbon's going to be at 1 mile and a 16th. I kind of feel like this distance is going to be better for her, and I think she's got a big chance at what should be a square number.
Mike Beer the Way is one of the nice races on the Whitney undercard, and you're stealing one of my favorites.
Yeah, this one's for you, Elman. This best bet of the weekend is for you. Tricky Escape is your horse in the way. I think this is a good spot for her. I like her at this distance. These longer distances are better for her. And last time over at Delaware Park, they stretched her out to 1 mile and 3/8, and we're going to show the replay of that race right now. This horse, she looked like she was going to win from about 1 mile out in this race. You can see her saving all the ground. All she has to do from here is find somewhere to go, and Krista Carlo found somewhere for her to go. As soon as she got cleared here, this race was over. I like the way that she finished it off. And you know what? This Way of Field is good. I don't think it's that good, though. She has a Chad Brown horse, of course, that she has to beat in here in Santa Monica. That horse will be the favorite. I think this horse has a realistic chance to pull off an upset, though, and she's 12-1 on the line.
I'm going to go to Mountaineer, race number 5 on the West Virginia Derby undercard. I'll take a chance with the number 4, Hachi, in the West Virginia President's Cup. I've never been a fan of the 9-5 morning line favorite, Gianna's Dream. And Hachi's going to make her second start for trainer Brad Cox. This horse kept very good company in South America before being first imported to the West Coast for trainer Dick Mandela. Let's take a look at Hachi's first start for Brad Cox. It was at Indiana Grand last time out, and she's on the lead, and she's being pressed by a pretty nice horse in Lovely Loy Ree. I like the fact that Hachi really digs in and fights all the way down to the wire, and I don't think she needs the lead to win. We know that Gianna's Dream is kind of a speed horse. Hachi draws outside of Gianna's Dream. If she can sit second or third, I think she has a big chance to pull off a mild upset in the West Virginia President's Cup. That's Hachi, race number 5, number 4. We thank you so much for watching this week's edition of Out of the Gate, and we urge you to follow all of DRF TV's video offerings on Twitter. Follow at DRF Video. And for the latest news and notes from America's Turf Authority Daily Racing Forum, please follow on Twitter at DRF Inside Post. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.